It is Banks Business with Banks. That's this first podcast. And I'm here with my friend. He's a lawyer. He is also a comedian and also a production.
Actually administrative law. So it's a whole different setup. But so a lot of attorneys do that because they go hand in hand.
Okay.
It's very similar. They're both based off the settlement of what you eventually get or whatever you get at trial. So they're a percentage.
A new person just came out from, let's say, a college.
Out of law school. And this is the other thing in America, most people, and this is not how it all works everywhere, but what the system for becoming an attorney in America in most situations is you go to college, then you go to law school,
Okay.
then you take the bar. So you go to 4 years of college, you get a bachelor's degree, then you go to law school, which is 3 years, and that's a lot of money for most situations. Like if you're going...
The law school costs more than the college, or the...
Yes, yeah. The only law school that probably costs less than less than colleges, Rutgers might, depending on how expensive your college was, because Rutgers, and it's probably more than when I went there 8 years ago, but it's still probably not nearly as much as, like, say, if you went to Brown University or Princeton or something like that for undergrad, and then you went, but I went to Ramapo College of New Jersey for undergrad, so it wasn't more expensive.
College is pretty expensive, although it's like 5 minutes from here.
Yeah, but I'm saying Ramapo is not more expensive than Rutgers. And it's definitely not more expensive than Rutgers Law School.
Okay.
So, but both of those are state colleges. The other thing is New Jersey is actually, even though both those schools are state funded, New Jersey for the longest time was one of the lowest in higher education funding. Yes, they were in the top 5 or top 10 for the longest time for high school and basically K through 12. They were one of the highest. Like they spent the most amount of money on K through 12, but they were one of the lowest as far as money spent and provided to colleges and universities. So what would happen is you'd have these families who would be raising their kids in New Jersey, and then they're sending their kids to other states to go to college.
Okay.
So you spent all this money on these students, and now their families are like, well, wait a second, it's so expensive to send them here anyway. You know, we're not getting that much of a discount from sending them to a state college. Let's just send them to somewhere else, and, like, you know, maybe they'll have a fun time. Maybe they'll put them in a situation where they can network. You know, you're in New Jersey, maybe you send your kid to New York. Maybe they find a way of getting in-state tuition in another state, like they move there, and like after a couple of years, they actually are able to get in-state tuition there. Like California has better in-state tuition. New York has better in-state tuition than New Jersey, or at least did at that time. So they were basically scaring away a lot of their own people who they had already put financial investment in, right? These people who got their whole education, their whole lives in New Jersey, were now moving away and going to Pennsylvania and New York and California and all these other states, not countries. California might be have the GDP of another country, but so that becomes a thing of, like, it becomes a choice that you have to make of, like, hey, when you're making these decisions as far as running a state goes, do you want to keep chasing away these people? And that's why there was a mass exodus for people living in New Jersey even before like you look at the housing expense here, it's gotten ridiculous in New Jersey and New York, and they've always been expensive, but now, you know, it keeps going up. But like you've also added in another reason to chase them out. Like that was the other issue with it. So going back to, now you're talking about 7 years of schooling, of college and law school. Then you have to take the bar exam. And then not everybody passes the bar the first time. I passed the bar the first time. I took it in New York and New Jersey, back when you had to take the test in 2 different states. So now they do the uniform bar exam. So it's one test, and
Any states, or just for New York and New Jersey?
It's a handful of states. It's like about 15 states or 20 states that do the uniform bar exam. When I took the bar exam, it was right before New York and New Jersey switched to the uniform bar exam. So it did not cross apply to another state. They all have their own grading over the uniform bar exam. So it used to be you would do like the New York specific of the law of the bar exam, and then you would do the multi-state bar exam, which is day 2, And then day 3, you would drive down, come to New Jersey, and take the New Jersey state bar exam.
So let me ask you this. Does it pay to be a lawyer? Because let's just say 4 years of college, let's just say the lowest, $25,000 a year. For 4 years college, that's put you at $100,000.
Yeah.
Let's say law school, $35,000. That's another, what, $70
to $100,000. Like we'll say basically $200,000 in debt.
to become a lawyer. Now, does it pay to be a lawyer?
It depends. Probably not. But
Talking about money-wise.
Well, and here's what's going to end up happening, right? It will eventually probably again. Here's what the issue is that the people who made a lot of their money who became lawyers in the 90s and the early 2000s, they made their money. Like it was very easy to make money and you could be established. And then there was a big thing that happened in 2008. You had a lot of big law firms close down. The legal market like had a hard time after the 2008 financial crisis. And then basically at that time, people were like, it might not be a good idea to become a lawyer. Now, I did not listen. So
But you don't have 200,000 in...
I don't have 200,000 in student loan debt.
Now, anybody can flip that money, make it turn into $1 million. So by the time for a lawyer to become a millionaire, it's going to take you...
Yeah, so like I said before, when I'm coming out of law school after 7 years of schooling and taking the bar exam and passing the bar exam, you're now jumping through hoops to be employed.
Yeah.
You'd go and you'd interview at a place and they'd be like, here, take this test as well. And it's like, I took a test to become a lawyer already and I passed it. Like, now you want me to take another test? Like, that was, like, that offended me the one time that happened. Because I understand you're trying to weed out these people, but, like, it just becomes a very...
Why can you sue them? You're a lawyer.
You can't...
That's what I mean. I'm joking.
Yeah.
You see...
Well, you're also... Yeah, but you're also suing other lawyers who've been doing it way longer than you. And that becomes the other element of it. But that's why, like, does it pay to become a lawyer? It depends, which is actually one of the most common phrases when you're an attorney is when somebody asks you a question, it's always, it depends is the answer, because everything is fact-based, right? The law is not a cookie-cutter black letter thing. You find out more, like, as different facts come into play.
So much time, so much pressure, so much stress.
Yeah.
I'm a lawyer, and then you're making like 50, 60.
Yeah, well, now maybe it's a little bit more now coming out of law school, but it's really like, so for one of the things that would provide a floor is you would do kind of like what I do right now is shopping out to bigger firms to review documents to help them like prepare for litigation. That was a big thing back then, but that was like your floor for like what you would make, and that was usually about like 50 to 60,000. But at least you would go home at the end of the day and you'd be done. It's not like that at most firms. Like it's not like that in general, usually for being a lawyer. Now, I will say this, over time, more places have become more niche, right? You don't get a lot of general practice attorneys anymore. New Jersey makes it available to you by the way that their court system works. And because New Jersey is mostly a lot of small law firms. New York, number one, New York's court system's a lot more. New York's legal system's a little bit more complicated than New Jersey's. It's also a state that's a lot more spread out, so it's not all the same. Like and a lot of the talk about New York is, well, yes, New York City's totally different than the rest of New York.
Yes.
And whether you're talking about things like traffic court or you're talking about things like personal injury, it's very different because things change as you go across the state. It might not be like there's court rules. There's there's also rules, laws that are maybe not fine. Like it goes by like what circuit you're in as well in New York. Like as far as like what appellate division you're in. So if you're in one area, the holding law, basically the rules might be a little bit different. So in New York is a lot more. So New York, usually most attorneys are a lot more niche. And in New Jersey, for most of the time that I've practiced in New Jersey, there's at least a little bit more. Usually personal injury attorneys like sticking to personal injury, workers' compensation. Maybe they'll do some traffic court for like very close clients or to help build up clientele. I had a few friends that would do that. But generally speaking, they would stick to like those things and they wouldn't do other things. You would get some, and they would just keep doing personal injury. And because if you do it really well, you can build up a stream of cases, and personal injury especially is all contingency based. So usually a lot of times your clients like you.
Okay.